There's something else going on here, Mayor de Blasio, don't you think, in terms of just an overall sense where people look at Democrats and say they're kind of talking down to us a little bit. They think they're a little smarter than us. There's an attitudinal part of it, I think. And some of that manifested itself in immigration, right? And, the migrant crisis here in New York. I know you had a lot to do with bringing some of these sanctuary laws when you were mayor. Did you watch the hearing yesterday with Mayor Adams? And what would you say about that general idea?
Yeah, I want to speak to the first part that you raised,
Yes.
especially. I got to say, I think you're right. And this is something I learned about life, but also about politics. If people feel something, you can't tell them they're wrong to feel it. So I think of a lot of the American people, in fact, a lot of people who had been Democrats or even were still registered Democrats, voted against Democrat parties because they felt something was wrong. Why don't we acknowledge that? And also, let's acknowledge there are a lot of voters, a lot of full counties in this country that went, Obama, Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump.
Right.
Over the course of 5 elections. That says that people have not made some permanent shift, but they were disappointed. They did not feel that the Democratic Party was speaking to their needs. And yes, I think it's become in too many ways a too coastal elite party. We need to get back to our roots. Working class, for everyday people, never talking down. I have a lot of respect for Kamala Harris, but I think she fell into that trap. I think Hillary Clinton, who I have immense respect for, fell into that trap in 2016. We have to show people are on their side. Now,
so is immigration part of that? The sanctuary cities and immigration? Is immigration part of that?
Yeah, immigration is totally part of that, but not for the reason of the laws that say we're not going to deport people who do minor offenses. I want to explain that's really important. Immigration is part of it because, and again, deep respect to Joe Biden and what he achieved, because I actually think he was a very good president on many levels. But on immigration, I do not understand. If he made the change he made in 2024 that finally stopped the disorder at the border, why didn't he make that change a year or two earlier?
Right.
Which would have changed the election itself. So that's something I just can't square. Democrats need to say, we believe in order, we believe in security, we need a border that makes sense. We need comprehensive immigration reform as well, by the way, and Republicans have often stood in the way of that. But here's the problem with the whole sanctuary city discussion is broken because it doesn't even get what they are. Connell, we started in New York City, what you might call sanctuary city, even back in the time of Ed Koch, even Rudy Giuliani agreed with the idea that you don't ask people the documentation status in a city with hundreds of thousands of undocumented people. Now, you and I could both say we wish it wasn't that way. We wish everyone came in legally. But let's say it's 12 million, 15 million people here who are not documented. You can't just blink your eyes and make them go away. The NYPD, for decades, believed it was wrong to ask documentation status because you would break the bond with the community. People would stop reporting crimes, stop coming forward as witnesses if they thought they might be deported. And the vast majority of undocumented people actually are fully law-abiding. So our laws say if someone commits a serious or violent crime, get them out of here.
Right.
You have to have a process.
Okay, let me ask you about one other issue, and then one political question maybe at the end. The issue is education. We thought today was going to be the day that the president would come out and sign an executive order that he thought was going to at least start dismantling the federal Department of Education. I know you worked on education issues, universal pre-K and the rest when you were the mayor of New York City, but the big picture question is how something like that, the idea of sending it back to the states, as the president talks about, would have a practical impact on a city like New York, say.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there's a danger in that. And I think part of why he's pulled back is a lot of MAGA voters and a lot of independent voters do not want to see education funding cut. We did pre-K for all in New York City. We made it universal for free. And here's what we found. Even some of the most conservative New Yorkers, even people who never would vote for me, still loved it that their kids were getting free pre-K and they weren't spending tens of thousands of dollars, which was forcing families out of New York City. So we actually made the place more affordable. Mm-hmm. The bottom line is that everyday American, all across the country, especially red states, depends on public school education. And I think the trap that President Trump found himself in is you can say you don't like the bureaucracy, right, but you get rid of the Department of Education, you're going to get rid of a lot of funding and support for local schools in that bargain. And everyday Americans don't want that.
I think he's still going to make a run at it, but he might need the Congress. So we'll see, if he still tries to go executive order or not. It wouldn't get the 60 votes, I don't think, in the Senate to do it. The political question is this. I guess it's kind of like a two-part question, I suppose, is that with everything going on with Mayor Adams, what do you think should happen? Do you think he should resign? And then the second part would be, who do you think is going to be the next mayor of the city that you once governed?
Look, he's not going to resign. I can say that with assurance, and I've said very publicly. No, look, I think he should answer the concern out there, and I've said this publicly. He should answer the concern out there by showing that when he agrees with Trump, work with him. When he disagrees with Trump, take him on and defend New York City. And he still has a chance to do that.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.